But let's also take stock as to what's happening when it comes to the ultra luxury car market, because we understand that the COVID blues haven't quite hit the sector as hard. So let's connect with Sanjay Thakker. He's the chairman of Group Landmark, joining in to give us some more perspective. Thanks so much for joining in. And, basis the articles that we've been reading, it seems that this sort of YOLO, or you only live once attitude, is what is enabling purchases within the ultra luxury car market. Is this some sort of a trend that you're witnessing even during the second wave?
So thanks for having me again. In fact, I remember the first time I was on your show, which was just after the opening up of the first lockdown. And at that time, I was maybe the first one to call a V-shaped recovery in the auto sector. And I'm actually happy that even after this second wave, though it's early days, I believe that we are on our way back to regaining our kind of a lost market, which we lost during the COVID. The points that are driving this purchase are several. One, personal mobility. People really want a personal vehicle. This shared mobility idea is currently not in flavor and won't be for a long time, is our sense. Also, what is happening is that people are driving. I was listening to the previous panelists, and they were talking about the domestic travel. And the domestic travel is something which is an important thing, not only the domestic travel, but also business travel, mid-distance, 300-400 kilometers, 500 kilometers. People generally were taking flights, trains, but it looks that they will be now traveling by personal vehicles as far as possible. And this is one of the other factors which is driving up car sales, and more so for premium and luxury vehicles. Yes, we are seeing, I think you are referring to the GLS Maybach story that was released a few days back. And the entire consignment, as you say, has been sold out for this calendar year. So the next batch will only come in 2022. And I don't know whether to feel happy or sad, but there is extremely high demand for luxury cars, and we are unable to cope up.
Okay, so can you just give us a little more perspective as to what the situation has been with respect to the supply side, and have those issues now been ironed out?
So for different manufacturers, the situation has been different. The domestic production facilities also had some impact. In the south. We had some issue, and it started. The COVID wave started from the west, went north, then went south, and so there have been challenges in production, supplies, and really we all know about the semiconductor issue, the chips which are in short supply for some manufacturers. And nobody really saw this extremely high demand coming up. So nobody planned for such numbers, such high numbers. And this is something which I am seeing across the board in all premium and luxury vehicles. Maybe the numbers that I will say will give some flavor to it. In the last 6 years, there has been a 10% shift. There are now 26%. The number of cars which are sold, which are more than 10 lakhs, is now 26% of the total vehicles sold. It was only 16% 5-6 years back. So people are buying safer, better vehicles. The shift is there, and I believe that this number will significantly increase as time goes by. People are investing in vehicles because that's where they need to spend more time. They would like to travel domestically in the vehicles to their factories, their plants. And that's why I believe that more and more premium and luxury vehicles will get sold.
Um, Do you feel like also that we'll start to see more direct selling from the brands, the luxury brands, to consumers? We've started to see, retail of the future, under which this has begun as a new trend. And do you think companies will allow this strategy to bypass dealers, work with brands more directly? Will Indian companies have this option as well?
So I think the word bypass the dealers is uncalled for, because that's what is understood by this model and the announcement, which is not so. The customers will have to pay the manufacturer, the factory, directly, but the sale will be through the dealer. The test drives will be by the dealers, the delivery point, the registration, the finance, insurance will be through the dealers, and the dealers will get commission for this sale. So unlike what is kind of believed by direct sale, maybe a Tesla kind of a model, this is not that. So this is something to bring transparency to the consumers, where there'll be one India, one price, and people don't have to kind of think whether they got the correct price or not. And it will, over a period of time, speed up the process, because today a lot of time really goes into haggling by the customers. They kind of compare prices and all. Now that won't happen. There'll be a one India, one price from a dealer perspective. There'll be a reduction in cost of carrying inventory, and maybe giving discounts where the vehicles get old, and they will still make the money by way of the commission that they would have earned even earlier. So actually, this is a win-win situation at this point, and I believe that this is a path-breaking move, and it will, at least for the dealers of Mercedes-Benz, be beneficial, and so for the customers.
Okay, great. And in terms of other segments that you see demand picking up in, if you want to, share a little bit more with us on that. In the past few, conversations, we've spoken a little about the luxury segment and how that continues to be robust. But, as we see this turn of the recovery, which are some of the other pockets that you actually see traction in, or where we're going to see launches that you feel the market will be, attracted by?
Yeah, so I think the trend worldwide is been towards the SUVs, and the share of SUV to the overall sale, it has been increasing. So any manufacturer which launches an SUV, whether it's in a sub 10 lakh segment or higher up, is seeing good traction. We know all the manufacturers who are doing well when they launch the SUV. We will have the Volkswagen brand launch their SUVs, and a lot of new vehicles are coming. The Jeep, which is synonymous with the SUVs, will come up with newer products. They are also doing extremely well after the pandemic. So the brands that we represent, Renault has launched the Kiger. Unfortunately, it got launched and immediately the lockdown happened. So I believe this is a fresh start for the Kiger, and it will also continue to do well. So all in all, I think everybody is doing well. I believe that there is a secular kind of a growth that India is entering into, and we will kind of have maybe a 4 or 5 year bull run on this, if I were to use this terminology on this channel. And the reasons are several. One of them is the very low per capita ownership that India has, which is close to what we have with our neighbors. And with the wealth creation which is happening in India, I believe that the country deserves more vehicles. The road building which is happening, I live in Mumbai and I see a lot of infrastructure happening over here. And once that is complete, there will be a second kind of a fillip to the industry. The scrappage policy is still not kind of announced properly. So once that is announced, there will be another kind of a nudge or a push to the industry. So all in all, I believe that the industry is here for a good time, for a lot of years, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, but we will have a double-digit growth for sure year on year, save and except the COVID lockdown or any such thing that we may face.
Okay, fair enough. How is India stacking up vis-a-vis some of the trends that you're seeing around the world, Sanjay? And if we compare what we saw perhaps pre-COVID last year to what we're seeing post the second wave this time, what are some of the divergent trends?
Only today I was reading an article from the US where the people were holding on to their cars longer. I'm also seeing that in India. The average age before which the car comes back into the market in India is maybe around 5 to 6 years. The popular feeling is that it's the people hold their vehicle for 3 years. We don't see that really happening on the ground. We believe that people hold their vehicles for 5 6 years. It doesn't mean that they don't buy another vehicle. It just is that they kind of pass it on to their family members or some staff, and it doesn't come back into the market. So after the second wave, we also are seeing that the exchange, the used car supply is an issue because people don't want to let go of their vehicle till they get their new vehicle in. Another thing which is there and which has impacted the Western world more right now is the semiconductor issue. And there has been a huge disruption in the production in those countries. I believe that India is not impacted as badly, and that is the reason for that is that many of the manufacturers who see India as the kind of sunrise state, the country in which they should invest in, are going out of their way to see that the Indian supplies are not disrupted. And this is an encouraging sign from a country's perspective. And also it shows the commitment of those manufacturers towards India. They don't want to kind of be left behind after such a long time. We just consider that for the last 5 6 years, India has not grown. As an auto market, India hasn't really grown at all. And this is the time when we are seeing green shoots. Why green shoots? Some green plants, and nobody should be missing the bus at this point.
Okay, and Sanjay, recently we saw Mercedes-Benz as well start the retail of the future, under which the company will be directly selling cars to the end consumers. How are you looking at this development? I know you spoke about it, but do you think that we will see more Indians adapting to this?
It is time will tell. I think initially the customers will find it a little bit confusing. It is possible that they will. But I believe that it will be for a very short time, and they will actually appreciate the transparency and kind of a all India one price. Now, this may be difficult for other manufacturers, especially the mass market brand, to replicate, because it would require huge amount of logistics at the manufacturer's end. So for a luxury brand, it would be easier to implement. But would be difficult, my sense is, when you are kind of selling tens of thousands of vehicles in a month, to kind of invoice these vehicles directly to the customers, collect money, kind of give out quotes based on customer profiles and all that. Now, that may not be possible. So I don't think that it will be done by many more manufacturers, at least initially. But I think the industry will be watching this very, very closely. Because it is a win-win situation in a way. It's good for the customer, it's good for the dealer, and it is clearly good for the manufacturer. So, but it's a new thing. I think Volkswagen Group has already tried this out in Europe. Mercedes-Benz has done this in Sweden and South Africa. And so India is one of those markets where this is being tried out now. And I'm kind of optimistic at this stage that it will be well received once it is launched in the last quarter of this calendar year.
All right, we'll let you go on that note. Appreciate your time. Thanks much for joining in and giving us a view as to what demand is looking like within the ultra luxury car market.